Hey everybody, Dustin DePirek here, calling the Standygram. Mike Miller being distracted in the back. That's what he does.
There's a TV on, I can't help it.
I understand. He's wearing his Orioles orange tie today.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Our
I
team's won.
understand.
Our team's won.
Yeah,
We saw
We're
it.
alluding to baseball, not
I
football.
suppose. Yeah. Anyway, so this game was supposed to be a shootout. One team came to that. One team not so much. Indiana falls 45-28, and it wasn't that close. Indiana got a cheap one at the end to make it 45-28. And just the powerful, potent, seemingly unstoppable Indiana offense was not so much unstoppable tonight by any means. The numbers don't look horrible. Threw for 377 yards as a team, rushed for 98, so somewhere that's what 475, I think, total offense, which isn't a bad number, but it didn't look good. A lot of dysfunction tonight, and this was kind of the first sort of the invincibility of Nate Sudfeld was put very much into question tonight, I think.
I think this was an offensive line, defensive line game for me.
That too.
And so Sudfeld was decidedly not sharp.
Mm.
And this was really the first time where he looked that way this season.
Mm.
And so some of that's on him, certainly. But some of it also, I mean, if he looked a bit rushed, he was, in fact, literally rushed.
Mm.
He didn't have much time. He got hit a lot.
Mm.
He wasn't sharp from the get-go, but he didn't get much of a chance to get any rhythm because there just wasn't going to be much time back there to throw. And the thing is, from an Indiana point of view, I don't know. I'm going to have to look at the film myself. But a lot of times I see that Missouri would only rush three and still get pressure.
Yeah.
Sometimes, maybe not a lot of times, but sometimes. I think Indiana was still having problems, and maybe the biggest play of the game, you could say, is on Sudfeld, but really it's on an offensive lineman missing a block because Indiana's within 21-14 and marching in Missouri territory, and it's getting toward the end of the first half, and it's looking like at worst, Indiana's going to go into halftime maybe down 7 and maybe actually tied. I mean, they're actually moving the ball. Big third down play. There's a timeout. And the Missouri defensive end comes in unblocked. I think it was Jason Spriggs missed the block. And
note on that one in a minute, but keep going.
Anyhow, for whatever reason, I don't want to necessarily put the onus on him either without knowing who was supposed to block who. But in any case, the guy comes through unblocked, gets in the path of the pass and makes a heck of an athletic play just to be able to snare it because, he's only like 5 yards from Sudfeld. He threw pretty hard.
It at him.
And the guy just was able to get the handle on it
there.
And took it to the house. And instead of being within a touchdown, Indiana's down 28-14. And that was really deflating.
That's the play.
And manifestly so. Because I believe from that point on, Indiana got 2 first downs through the end of the third quarter, and I think even beyond that. I mean, Indiana.
It was a bad third quarter, yeah.
Right, and so that game,
that turned the game completely.
Missouri looked like the better team from the get-go. Just in their body language, it seemed to me they came out and looked almost unconcerned. They just went. They just took care of business, did what they do, and very confidently and calmly and convincingly dominated the game.
Yeah. No, apparently it was supposed to happen on that play, and honestly, they're not even entirely certain what led to this not going right. That was supposed to be a cut block. Jason Spriggs was apparently supposed to cut him down, and Sudfeld said, I don't know if I didn't call it right, if I didn't make the protection clear or whatever. He says I haven't talked to Coach yet. I'm not totally sure what got messed up. If that was my call, if Spriggs just missed it because Kevin Wilson mentioned that it was supposed to be a cut block, and he said something about a guy, being down on the cut and looking up at him, and I'm thinking, no, I'm pretty sure Jason Spriggs was standing up, which he was. Nobody was on the ground at that point at all. And Spriggs obviously has been a pretty phenomenal left tackle for Indiana for much of his career, but just pretty much whiffed on him. I mean, I think there was some level of contact, but Coney Ely beats him pretty bad. And that, like you said, that's your game-changing play, and that's really got Darkenhill a little bit.
And as strange as it may seem, I mean, with Missouri finishing with 623 yards, I believe it was, which was just the most ever by an opponent in Memorial Stadium.
Yeah, the
Indiana defense
didn't look
actually
that horrible.
played well enough to keep Indiana in contention. Came up with 3 takeaways in the first half.
In a game that you were
But-
expecting to
yeah,
be in the 40s,
Right,
really.
Everybody expected that Missouri was going to get some, its fair share of points and move the ball. And Indiana's defense actually got some stops. Actually created some turnovers.
Three turnovers, 2 picks by Greg Eben. Big fumble.
The disappointing unit tonight, if you want to just label it that way, is the offense. I mean, the offense just wasn't sharp. The offense spent way too much time sputtering out there, and the big problem there, from my point of view, was the trenches. I mean, Missouri just gave Indiana's offensive line fits with just basic defensive line stunts. It wasn't like they were having to blitz a bunch of guys.
Twists
it
and
was
that
twists,
kind of thing.
and Indiana just had issues with that all night long. How about you, Mike? What did you think? Was that
We were going to have to
maybe
get Mike involved.
the central premise of Indiana's?
Well, certainly, I think we were talking after the game. Just the quickness from defensive front for Missouri is really what just sort of caught them off guard. I think now at this point, this is an Indiana team that's just trying to get both, the offense and defense. Like you said, the defense got their stops, but the offense couldn't do their part. They have to get both ends, doing it at the same time. It was sort of, it's not remarkable, but it was interesting to just see the defense really step up and really keep the team in the game, because those 2 interceptions by Heaton probably saved touchdowns early on. Right now it's just a matter of, they have to find a way to sort of, get them both rolling at the same time.
And I think, in terms of both rolling at the same time, offensive balance is crucial too. I mean, if you finish with under 100 yards net rushing, that's not always a good sign. I mean, I think that I think Kevin Wilson addressed that after.
He mentioned something about play calling, that maybe that they're just, it was 53-26.
Yeah, to me,
it
it wasn't so much that I thought Missouri was stuffing Indiana's run all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana didn't attempt.
Yeah, it's not a horrible. 3.8 is not good, but it's not the worst average you've ever seen.
Well, there's sacks and stuff tossed into that.
There weren't any sacks.
Oh, weren't? Okay, I'm sorry.
Believe it or
Take that
not,
back.
for all the talk about pressure and all as much as he got hit, there weren't any sacks in this game, which kind of surprised me when I looked at that number. But yeah, no, I mean, the Indiana running game wasn't awful. I'm actually kind of surprised that Tevin Coleman only had 54 yards on 16 carries.
That surprised me.
So, because he looked like he had a couple, not a big one anywhere in there, but it seemed like he got a couple of seams.
He had an Eisman brought back with a holding call, I remember.
Right, that was true too.
But this was another case where Indiana's had 2 really healthy crowds this year. They had 47,000 by their standards. They had 47,000 for Navy, and they had almost 50,000 tonight. They had over 49,000.
Yeah, the 50,000 seats, 50,000 fan whatever. I mean, those are reserved. Like in Indiana, that's special, know. And those are reserved for usually either Purdue or a Michigan or somebody like that. Usually a Big Ten opponent. It's a big deal.
It's evidence that people want to. I think people want to come out. They're interested.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be supportive. They want to see, if Indiana's maybe going to turn a corner. They really kind of want to get on board with this team, I think. But they're not gonna, and they're not necessarily going to come back. If that every time there's a big chance for a big performance, a big opportunity game on a big stage like this was. So the only SEC Big Ten regular season game of the year, big crowd, a bit of buzz in the stands, and Indiana just, once again, doesn't play the way it needs to play to galvanize a fan base and keep people interested. It happened against Navy. It happened last year against Wisconsin. When people start paying attention, Indiana needs to commandeer their attention, and it's not happening.
Capture the moment. I'm interested in your take on this, and I don't know where what direction this will go. Obviously, I haven't been here for a lot of years. I mean, I've been around for 4, but the sort of fans that I was dealing with just like on the live chat tonight and have on like Twitter, it seems like they feel lied to about this one. They feel actually angry about, and I don't think that's necessarily fair in terms of what Wilson was selling or anything like that. I don't think he necessarily ever came out and said we're definitely going to go to bowl game. We're definitely going to win 7 games. I don't know. Maybe it's my fault too. I'm not sure. But do you get that from just talking to fans? Do you get the impression that people actually feel actually feel angry that they got looped into it again, and that it's not, that it hasn't gotten there yet?
I do think there's some of that. I do think that, there's been a lot of rhetoric about making progress and turning the corner. I've written a fair amount myself, and I do think I've seen evidence of progress. I mean, it isn't like I don't see that.
I mean, I wouldn't make stuff up.
No, I mean, but and obviously I have to evince opinions about it as a columnist. But I don't think I've, and I'm the one that predicted 7-5 at the start of the season.
I said
and
6-6.
That's not looking real good right now.
No.
But I do think that there has been some evidence of maybe some progress being made. But I don't think anybody, as any of us, have promised that the defense is going to be
gangbusters,
a world-beating kind of unit this year. And there's hope that the offense can sometimes outscore the opposition and maybe win some games. But frankly, right now, I mean, it seems like to be a couple of steps forward, one step back, one step forward, two steps back. It's very sort of disjointed, and there's not a sort of an unbroken arc of progress right now. And I understand why people are frustrated. I do. I think there are a lot of people inside the north end zone and in the Indiana locker room that are frustrated right now, because that's not the kind of performance that people needed to see tonight.
Right.
If they wanted to stay on board and the phrase, I hate the phrase actually, is drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I really don't like that, considering what actually happened.
No, I don't like that phrase. But I mean, nevertheless, I do think that, I understand that people want to have hope. They want to buy in. They want to believe. And nights like tonight just really undercut that. And I understand them reacting emotionally to it to a degree.
Yeah. It obviously puts Indiana in tough shape. I mean, I think you also had to look at this team and said it would get better as the year went on. But again, you get in when it gets better is when it plays Big Ten. When it gets into Big Ten play. And I think I said it before. I mean, I think we talked yesterday about was this one of the biggest games in recent Indiana history. Basically, every single one of them now takes on. Everyone becomes bigger as you go. I mean, really, if it's just whichever one, if they win one, it's humongous. Between this one and Penn State next week, and Michigan State the week after that, and Michigan the week after that, and then certainly Ohio State, Wisconsin look like bigger long shots than any of those games. But each of those is big, and at some point, if they're going to win, go to a bowl game, they've got to win one of them at the very least.
I think we all looked at this and looking at the pre-conference season, we are now entering the bye week before the start of the Big Ten season. And I think everybody kind of understood that 3-1 would be acceptable. Everybody would say that's okay. That's kind of you're staying on schedule there.
Yeah.
If you go 4-0, people are going to be ecstatic. They're going to pack the place for Penn State, and the place is going to be buzzing. 2-2 isn't going to be good enough. 2-2 is not good enough. It's not going to get anybody excited. It's not going to get anybody believing. It's not going to get the place packed for Penn State. They're going to have to beat some people. They're going to have to beat some people back to back. They're going to have to beat somebody that people don't expect them to beat before they're going to get a lot of these fans back.
Well, literally to go 6-6, that's actually what they have to do. They have to win. They basically can't not win back-to-back games at some point in time, and they can't not. They have to beat someone that people weren't looking at the schedule and saying that's a win.
And the players and coaches have to stay positive, and they have to keep working, and that's how they have to approach it. But I understand if the fans and people outside the program have to view it, are viewing it a bit differently right now.
Anyway, thanks everybody. 2 weeks Penn State. Thanks.